Hello, friends. Happy webinar day. We got a couple hundred people joining us today, so the room is populating, which is great. If you'd like to pop in the chat box where you're from, and you don't have to answer this question, but if you have a favorite before and after project, you can let us know what that was. I will let you know what mine is. All right, so we've got folks joining us from Leon County, Orange County, Osceola County, Miami-Dade County, Orange County, Sarasota, Volusia, Nassau, Leon, Trinity, Florida, which I think is Pasco, Hillsborough County, Lake County, Lee County, Alachua, Hillsborough Lake, Palm Beach, Brevard, Martin, Hillsborough, Fort Myers, which is Lee County, Orange, Polk County, St. Johns County, Orange County, Nassau County, Duval County, Seminole, Sarasota, Martin, Lake County, St. Johns County, Palm Beach County. Oh my goodness, lots of folks joining in. Broward, Santa Rosa, Indian River, Duval, Seminole, Alachua, Marion, Hillsborough, Duval, St. Lucie, Lee County, Citrus County, Indian River County, Duval, Palm Beach County, Okaloosa, Pinellas. Oh, Tom, people are coming all over. Monroe, we've got Monroe to Okaloosa currently, so we've got almost the whole, and Nassau, so we've got from top to bottom. Pinellas, Leon, Christine Martin, her favorite before and after is her turf. Okay, Christine, you know how to get me. Pasco, she changed the sand pit backyard to shell paths surrounded by landscape beds. No turf to mow. Palm Beach, St. Lucie, Sarasota. Laura made a potager garden. That sounds nice. Citrus, orange, Flagler. And favorite project, creating a memory shade garden under a live oak tree that had nothing under it.
Nice.
Nellis, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Escambia. Carol's favorite before and after was a partial shade bed of azaleas and hydrangeas. That sounds nice. Uh-oh, Melissa, your survey popped up. Well, if the survey pops up, just ignore it. Well, we've got everybody's here from all over the state. Duval likes to say Duval. Backyard from turf to mini jungle. No more turf. Favorite project, conversion to natives. Sarasota, Hurricane Ian helped me convert 100% to oak leaf mulching. Oh my goodness, sorry about that. Karen created a library reading garden. Janice says, you sound stuffy. I am stuffy. I have had a flu, you guys, and it's not COVID. I've been knocked out for the last 3 days. It's a miracle I'm here. So, all right, everybody's here, and we are at 1 after 1, and I am so glad that y'all are joining us today. I'm going to quickly turn the reins over to my colleague, Tom Wichman here. This is our second to the last webinar for the year. The last one will be the 15th of December, and I'm going to be going over the demonstration gardens around Florida. So that'll be fun. And for the webinar, remember to limit the use of the chat box for asking questions to the speaker and not for side questions or conversations or comments. You can also use the Q&A box as well. And if the chat box is aggravating you, you can minimize it so you don't have to see what's going on in there if it's bothering you. Okay. So today our presenter is Tom Wichman. Tom is the IFAS Florida Friendly Landscaping Green Industry Best Management Practices Coordinator for the state. He's also the Assistant Director for the University of Florida Friendly Landscaping Program. And many of you all will remember that Tom was the former Master Gardener Volunteer State Coordinator before I stepped into his giant shoes. And they are very big feet. Tom is a self-proclaimed plant nerd. He loves plants. He loves free plants. He loves to swap plants. He loves cool plants. And he is just a real plant aficionado. If you ever need to kill 10, 15 minutes of time, just tell Tom about a new plant you saw, or ask him about, hey, Tom, show me a picture on your phone of your new plants. So, Tom, we're so glad that you can be here with us. Tom works just 2 doors down from me, so it's a pleasure to work with you, Tom, and I'm so glad that you can be here today to present on Flip My Florida Yard.
Thanks, Wendy.
I'm going to stop share and you can go ahead.
Wonderful. Let's see. Let's share my screen. And we looking good, Wendy? All right, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Wendy booked this talk with me 6 or 8 months ago. It was a long time ago. I put it on the calendar, and I've been thinking about it, all year long, actually. And what am I going to say? What am I going to do? How am I going to put all this together? And I've had so much fun actually putting this talk together. And so you'll hear a lot more about the show as we go. Tell you just a little bit more about the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program. We're approaching our 30th anniversary of the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program. February 24th will be our 30th anniversary. And, it has grown so much. We actually have 3 sub-programs for the FFL program. We have the Florida Yards and Neighborhoods program. That's our homeowner targeted program. You should be pretty familiar with it. We have the Florida Friendly Communities, which works with municipalities, builders and developers, and property managers. And then we have the Green Industries Best Management Practices program, which is what I work with. And we're working with commercial landscapers or anybody that's applying fertilizer commercially. So it's a broad program, and it fits just about any audience out there. And we're trying to make a difference and protect Florida's natural resources. So I guess it was about 4 years ago, we were approached by Chad Crawford from Crawford Entertainment about a show that he'd done some pilot shows for. He'd done a 4-episode season that was sponsored by FNGLA, and it was very successful. And he showed us those 4 shows, and it was kind of exciting, and he was looking for a sponsor for a new season. And, at the time it was kind of, we don't have the funding to be able to do that. We kind of kicked it up the line to our funding partner, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and we kind of matched those 2 people together. And then we didn't hear anything for a while. And then all of a sudden we heard TV show's going to come to fruition. So DEP saw the value. We were looking for, ways to, our interest in this show really came from, our desire to broaden our marketing efforts. When I started with Extension back in 1993, sounds like a long time ago. When I started, we heard that Extension is the best kept secret out there. And, now, 29 years later, I'm sorry to say that I'm still hearing that Extension is the best kept secret out there. So we have to think differently. We have to look differently. How are we going to reach all those other people? We're good at reaching our Extension audiences, but what about all those other folks that aren't familiar with Extension? So we started to look at trying to broaden our marketing efforts with social media, with television, with radio, to reach those new audiences, promote those resources that we have, show people what a Florida friendly landscape can really look like, and ultimately promote IFAS extension. That's what's really important. And, master gardeners that are out there, I have a very soft place in my heart for the Master Gardener program. I spent 21 years of my career with the Master Gardener program. And so, I love what you do. You make such a difference in the state. Our horticulture agents across the state can't do what they need to do without your assistance. So thank you for what you're doing. We really appreciate that. And certainly you're out there promoting Florida friendly landscaping. And we appreciate that as well, because, you're out there teaching the messages that are going to help preserve Florida for the future. I thought I'd show a little clip of a little bit about Flip My Florida Yard. So if you would turn up your volume a little bit, the sound's a little low on this, but we'll go ahead. This is just about a minute and a half.
One of the questions we often get is, what does a Florida-friendly landscape look like?
There really isn't one set look. It can look like anything. There's not one style. It's all about how you design and manage it. There's over 450 different plants on the Florida Friendly Plant List. So there's lots to choose from, whether you want that tidy landscape or you want a little more natural look.
Every community is unique and landscaping conditions vary across the state. Florida Friendly Landscaping is about matching the right plant with the right place and providing the right care at the right time.
A Florida-friendly landscape not only looks beautiful, but this statewide program has had a significant impact on our environment. In fact, studies show that homeowners using Florida-friendly landscaping principles are using 84% less water.
Yeah, most people aren't aware, but our everyday lives generate pollutants that a lot of times get washed away with rainstorm events. And they oftentimes get washed into our water bodies. So the pollutants that build up on our landscape, like oil, gas, fertilizers, that kind of gets washed away with our storm events, our rainfall that occurs. These types of pollutants are harmful to our water bodies.
In just 1 year, this program prevents nearly 120,000 pounds of nitrogen from entering Florida waterways and saves over 250 million gallons of water.
Water is such a part of our culture and who we are as Floridians. We have to be more responsible about how we manage or take care of our landscapes.
Visit floridafriendlylandscaping.com to start learning today.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed seeing a little bit about the show there, and just a little piece. Those are some clips from our 30th anniversary show that'll debut in February. Tell you a little bit about the host, Chad Crawford. If you haven't seen the show, I think you'll find that he's very dynamic. He's personable. He's very fun, and he's a third generation Floridian. When he was in the Navy, they dubbed him the Captain of Fun, and he did get his degree in videography from Full Sail University. He has other shows too. He does How to Do Florida that he's done for a long time, the Outsiders Club, which is a kids program, and also the Spirit of the Keys. And he's got a couple more shows in the works right now too that he'll add to this, as well as Flip My Florida Yard. So he's a hard worker. He's somebody who really is out there, cares about the environment, loves the outdoors, and so he's passionate about Flip My Florida Yard. Season 1 consisted of 10 locations. You see the locations there on the left side of the screen. The segments in each of the show had an interview with the homeowner. You got to meet the designer, meet the county agent, the local county agent, meet with the contractor. There's a yard science segment in each show where we bring in a specialist, most of them from University of Florida, but some from DEP, and go into a little deeper conversation about a particular topic. And then there's always the chaos. Like any flipping show, are we going to get it done? Is it going to rain? What kind of pressures are there? What's happening? And then there's the fun reveal, because the homeowners don't know what's going on. They haven't seen this design. The designer and the county agent have met with them prior to the design being done, and they've told them what they like and what they don't like and what problems they may have. But the designs are kept secret from the people, and they let us play in their yard. And so we turn their front yard or backyard into a Florida friendly landscape all in 8 hours. Well, it's a little bit of TV magic. In some cases, it may go 10 hours, but for the show, we'll say 8 hours. That first season, we went network airing and then direct to streaming. And you can still watch all of those shows. They're available from the Discover Florida channel. If you just go to flipmyfloridayard.com, there's an app you can download so you can watch it on your phone, or you can use it on any of your streaming devices as well. Season 2 was very similar to season 1. It had the 10 location shoots, again, scattered all around the state. And we had an extended look back to season 1, and that's that 30th anniversary show that will air in February. We actually went to 3 landscapes from season 1 and, wanted to see how they were doing, and not only how they looked, but how they affected people's lives. So it was really interesting, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But all the segments were very similar to season 1, including the yard science, but we also added a maintenance moment. And that was a piece where I got to do a little 2-minute segment on a particular landscape maintenance topic. And so that was fun to do. And I think we covered a lot of things, and we can pull each of those out and add them to our website too. So there'll be some standalone pieces we can add. And season 2 did have a little more of a state park focus. DEP is in charge of our state parks, and so they see this show as a real valuable resource to be able to showcase our state parks. It's currently airing statewide on PBS, and it's going to go to streaming probably in February, maybe late January, but I wouldn't bank my money on that. I would think it'd be closer to February. Season 3, actually on Monday, I'm going to the second flip of season 3. So we're in the filming process. Now we'll be filming through March. And it's, again, very similar to those first 2 seasons. We've got 10 location shoots. We have the maintenance moment that we're keeping in there, and also the state park focus. I'm not sure how it's going to air yet, whether it'll go to PBS first before streaming. But that's more than likely what'll happen. You can kind of figure on some sort of a summer launch. And just those yard science segments, I'm not going to read through all of these. I'm not going to leave it on here up on the screen for too terribly long, because I don't want to spend all of our session talking about what those are. Hopefully you've seen the show, but they cover a wide range of topics, everything from pollinators to horticultural therapy to protecting our coral reefs to rainwater harvesting and living shorelines and root rot, all kinds of things, all kinds of topics. And so it's a really nice resource to have. And then those maintenance moments, you can see on the left, those were the 10 maintenance moments topics that we did. We did those on site on the various flip sites. They'd pull me aside and we would do 1 or 2 at the different flips. And for season 3, the crew is going to come, and they're going to come to my house, and we're going to get to do all 10 of the maintenance moments pieces in my landscape. So that'll be a little easier for me. I won't have to haul quite as much stuff. I already have a lot of the props and pieces that we'll need, the tools. So it just makes it a little easier. So I'm looking forward to that. Just so you can see on the left, that map on the left is the distribution of the shows during the first 2 seasons. And there on the right, you can see the distribution of season 3 shows. So we have been to the Keys, we've been to Pensacola, we've been to Jacksonville, and lots of places in between, certainly. So it's an exciting show, and something that we're already starting to think about season 4, even though we just started filming season 3. So for those that haven't seen this, I know that we've got a lot of folks online, and not everyone will have seen Flip My Florida Yard. So I have an abbreviated show, a shortened show that I just wanted you to get kind of a little bit of idea of how the show goes, and then we'll go and look at the before and after photos of those first 2 seasons. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. Remember to turn your sound up just a little.
Welcome to our mess. Hey, somebody get the camera.
This yard is really coming together.
If we hit the water line.
Welcome to Flip My Florida Yard. On today's episode, we head to Panama City. It's here we flip a yard for a mother and daughter, still recovering from Hurricane Michael. Designers show us how to install a landscape more resilient to harsh weather conditions.
We tried to pick some plant materials that did really well during the storm.
Experts offer tips for the next visit to your local nursery.
Look for insects, look for diseases.
And we look at the latest science behind turf grass.
A lot of the work that we're doing here translates into how homeowners should better manage their lawn.
All building to a dramatic reveal.
Wow.
Flip My Florida Yard starts right now.
Flip My Florida Yard is sponsored by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection.
We're knocking on doors and flipping yards into beautiful Florida-friendly landscapes, and all in 8 hours.
Is this really happening? Organized chaos.
Experts show us how to use Florida-friendly landscaping principles.
Putting the right plant in the right place.
Water efficient. Very low maintenance.
Fertilized appropriately.
All leading up to a dramatic reveal.
The best surprise of our whole life.
Hey, guys.
Hi, I'm Christina. This is my daughter Jillian, and we're the Dirt Up family. The current state of our yard is just really, truly a disaster. October 10th of 2018, Hurricane Michael, which was Cat 5 hurricane, hit the greater Panama City area. It came through in about two and a half, 3 hours, and it looked like a bomb went off. All the trees were completely stripped.
If you can imagine, there was giant camphor trees right here in the front yard. Hurricane Michael took them out. But what was left was this insane root system that wove all throughout this yard. And so we came in prior to that, pulled all those roots out and got it ready for today's flip. These guys are working on digging tunnels for irrigation. We're going to have a pavered walkway right through here. They're leveling this out, getting this ready for the dirt and the aggregate that'll go down before the pavers go down. We turn to local landscape architect, Katie Harrell from Southeastern Outdoor Management to design Tina and Jillian's new resilient landscape. Here we go, Katie. Are
Yay!
you ready?
I'm ready.
I mean, a lot to do today. I know that Tina views this flip as a little bit of a renewed sense of hope. What are some of the things that they wanted to see in this yard?
She really likes traditional plantings like boxwoods, but as we were trying to incorporate more natives, we tried to find some plant materials that have similar leaves and similar plant structure to what she was looking for and really incorporate those into the design. The pavers that we selected were tumbled so that they look like more old school, old world paver, and just trying to kind of meld all those things into making it match the old farmhouse style that she has here.
Welcome back to Flip My Florida Yard. Today, we're in Panama City, flipping a yard for Tina and Jillian, whose yard was damaged during Hurricane Michael.
I could hear glass breaking. I could hear water dripping in the house. It's when I looked out the front window and the church across the street, the whole thing just came down.
In the yard, it's all about irrigation.
One of the features of Florida Friendly Landscaping is trying to provide irrigation that conserves water.
The Dirt's yard had no irrigation system, so our crew is wide open.
We've used some special high efficiency van nozzles. We only have a few spray heads because we've kept very minimal sod areas here, and all of the plant beds and the hanging baskets will all be on a drip irrigation zone, which works off gallons per hour versus gallons per minute. It helps to keep your cost on your irrigation system down as well.
As the crew wraps up irrigation, it's time to prep the yard for plants and trees. The real stars have arrived. The green, the plant, the shrubs, it's all here. I asked Tom Wichman with the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program to review a few of the plants going in today and any advice for proper planting. Plant time here in the front yard. Let's talk about these plants we have in front of us. These are some of the plants that are going to go into the front yard here. I love the name of this. What is this?
This is the dwarf Pringles podocarpus.
Say that real fast.
Dwarf Pringles, I can't.
Really cool name.
I call it the Cadillac of screening plants. We're looking at something in the 3 to 5 foot height range, maybe about 4 to 5 foot wide,
Slow growing, less maintenance.
less pruning.
Okay, that's that one. Now let's talk about this one. What do we got here, Tom?
This is a dwarf loropetalum. This is one called Crimson Fire, and
Wow,
you
it's
know,
beautiful.
really beautiful. The nice thing about loropetalum is they've got these beautiful crimson leaves,
Yeah.
and then they get these bright, brilliant pink blooms in the springtime as well. And it really goes well with accents greens and other plants really well.
I love this one. What do we got here,
And
Tom?
this is a nice Florida native. Walters viburnum. The variety is Mrs. Schiller's Delight. This one stays nice and tight and compact.
Yeah. What's the worst thing somebody can do when they're planting a plant?
Probably planted too deeply. And also, you know, planting things too close together and too close to the house. Plants start competing with each other for light, for water and nutrients.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you've got this mass of roots and plants. They're all intertwined and they all start thinning out and none of them are thriving. So it's really best if you can give them a little space, allow them to get to their mature size. For longevity of the landscape, it will just make that landscape last that much longer.
Attracting wildlife is an important principle of the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program. And these plants will not only do that, but they'll also help create a traditional looking yard that fits with the house. You're watching Flip My Florida Yard. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Flip My Florida Yard. Americans love their grass. In fact, the lawn is the biggest irrigated crop in America. So developing grasses that require less water can have a huge environmental impact.
I love turf grass. It's comfortable, it feels good, and it can be very beautiful in our landscape.
We caught up with turf scientist Kevin Kenworthy to better understand what turf science is and the environmental impacts it can have.
The Plant Science Research and Education Unit exists to support research for faculty on main campus in Gainesville for the University of Florida. A lot of the work that we're doing here with watering and drought responses and breeding translates into how homeowners should better manage their lawns when it comes to irrigation and the water they're applying, the water they're using, which is a valuable natural resource. When you think about it, I have kind of an odd occupation. I'm a turf grass breeder. And so what does that mean? If we want to make a better St. Augustine grass, we don't need 5 St. Augustine grasses to look at. We need several hundred that we want to screen in different environments for their responses to diseases, insects, drought, shade. You start off with a couple thousand plants. You hope to narrow that to a couple hundred, then to 30 or 50, and then down to 5 or 10, and then those 1 or 2 that will be useful. The idea for all of this is to improve and increase the sustainability of the turf grass that we use in our landscapes. That's the focus of the breeding program. Fewer inputs for pesticides, water, fertilizers. Those are the focal areas of our research programs.
Let's get back to our flip. Today, we're in Panama City, flipping the Durda family's yard. Their home was devastated by Hurricane Michael in 2018. Since then, the exterior of their historic home has been restored. Now, it's up to our flip crew to restore this yard to a Florida-friendly landscape. As a Panama City resident, Katie witnessed firsthand the destruction caused by Hurricane Michael and has some tips for designing a resilient landscape.
The University of Florida has done some great research prior to Hurricane Michael, and then adding in what we learned just physically from being here and on the ground and seeing what trees did better and what survived, making sure the span and the space of trees when you plant them. If you have a small lot like this one happens to be, that you choose smaller trees. Don't come in and plant a huge live oak. I know people love them because they have great shade. If there is something that happens, there's no issue with it falling on your house and then you have as many repairs.
A new water-efficient irrigation system and Florida-friendly plants and trees are just a few of the features going in today. Back at the Durda's house, when it comes to traditional Southern trees, the crepe myrtle is the quintessential choice. Let's go get crepe myrtle. Look at that, perfect.
Probably good right there.
Is this kind of a self-sustaining tree?
They're one of the longest blooming trees in Florida, so we get a great bloom time from early spring on through the fall, heavier blooms in the summer. Doesn't require a bunch of water once it's rooted, which works great with our drip irrigation system.
Hurricane Michael took out so many trees in this area. Katie, what's it feel like to be planting another tree here today?
We lost, I believe the last number I heard was more than 85% of our trees.
Wow.
We want to start convincing people, hey, plant back trees, just make sure it's the right plant for the right place.
If you're watching Flip My Florida Yard, don't go away. We'll be right back. While Katie's team fixes the pipe, I again tap Tom Wichman for some tips when visiting a local nursery. Kind of take us through a little bit. We're walking into a nursery, whether it's at a big box store or a local nursery, just comes back to right plant, right place. What are some questions we should be asking? What kind of plants are we looking for?
Number one, when you start, you want something that looks healthy. Look for insects, look for diseases. If you see yellowing leaves, maybe you leave that plant alone and don't bring it home because you don't want to bring home problems.
Tip number 2, do your homework.
And some of the things to ask are what will grow well in my condition? And hopefully you've done a site analysis a little bit to figure out your lighting patterns, how much sun you have, and know where in the state you are. So you're getting plants that are for your particular region and that they'll thrive there.
Well, what are some mistakes people make when they buy plants from a nursery?
In some cases, buying the bigger plant is not the best buy because the larger the plant, the longer it takes to get established. You can save some dollars sometimes by starting with a slightly smaller plant, but you want to make sure that you're still spacing it properly.
Yeah.
So it might look a little sparse at first, but you want to make sure that you're getting it enough room that it can grow.
Let's talk about the tag and how to read it.
So they've got lots of great information, everything from how tall this is going to grow to how wide it's going to grow to the zone, the growth zone that it should be. Some of these tags also have good planting information. They'll teach you how to properly dig the hole and make sure you're not planting this plant too deeply.
Lots of great information. And really, there's no dumb question when you get to a nursery, right? They love working with plants and they love sharing that knowledge, right?
They really do.
It's always a good sign when we start seeing sod. That means we're getting really close and this yard is really coming together.
Here on this flip, we're using zoysia grass, and zoysia's become really popular in the last 10 years. Requires a little less nutrients perhaps than St. Augustine, but it does take a little bit of water. You know, we always tell people to manage it properly. Grass doesn't waste water. People do.
With just minutes to spare, the final task is Florida-friendly principle number 4, mulch. We've got our drip irrigation running all throughout this flower bed. This puts water right where it needs it, very water efficient. And we're using this pine needle, my favorite mulch. Here's the bonus with this mulch is that when it comes, you get all these little bits and pieces in here, all these little bits of organic matter. This all breaks down into your soil, providing nutrients for your plants. And I just love that we're using it in this yard. It's going to look beautiful.
There's nothing left but some really small finishing touches to make it look finished and ready to enjoy. Everything else is absolutely complete.
Well, I'm so excited to show you this yard because an incredible group of people came together to make this happen. And I really can't wait to do this reveal. So are you guys ready?
We are. Yeah, we're ready. We've been ready all day.
Let's bring in the glasses. So you're going to put those on.
Okay.
You can see the ground a little bit, but you can't see me, right? How many fingers do I have?
I have no idea.
It's 1.5 miles around the corner. We're almost there. 1, 2, 3. Remove your glasses.
Whoa! Oh my God! Whoa! You did this today. Thank you guys so much.
Before, this yard was a barren reminder of a storm that changed Tina and Jillian's life. Now, this Florida-friendly landscape is a beautiful space that matches the family's historic home, has a water-efficient irrigation system, will attract wildlife, has a selection of hardy plants and trees suited for Florida's Northwest region, and provides a tranquil place for them to get outside and enjoy the neighborhood.
Wow. Whoa. How did you all do this in 8 hours? Oh, I didn't even see the papers. And perfect color.
What do you think?
I am so impressed with what you have done. And it is exactly what I wanted. It just fits the character of the home. And it's not something that I could have ever envisioned on my own.
This house is definitely going to be a beacon of hope for this area. So we're hoping that spurs this entire area into a complete revitalization.
It's been years. This yard's been torn up and the house is back to life. That's what it means. Not just for me and her, but for the entire community
Everybody that drives by, I from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Flip my Florida yard!
Wow, what a flip. Tina and Jillian's new yard will not only be water efficient, it'll attract wildlife. It's also designed to be more resilient to harsh weather conditions. Well, that's our show. Remember, everybody doing a little, well, that's a whole lot.
Flip My Florida Yard was brought to you by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection in partnership with the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences Florida Friendly Landscaping Program.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that brief segment, a little shortened show. I had to do some editing to just try and keep it short, but you get the idea of the difference we can make in somebody's life. We show people a little bit about some of the resources, where they can go for more information, and it really starts with their local county extension office. On the screen now, you can see where the show is currently airing for season 2. And so you can pick out your part of the state and see when it's airing in your area. Here in Gainesville, it's airing on Saturdays on WUFT at 4:00. So I have my DVR set up to record it, and it's just a fun show to share. But you can always go and watch it from the Discover Florida channel as well. It really comes down to this show is about the people. You've got all the residents, you see on the left, those left 4 pictures, some of the families that have had their yards flipped in either season 1 or season 2, and then you start seeing some of the images, and you start thinking about all the workers that had a piece in this. They really have a stake in this, and they love what they do. And these guys down here, this was over in Pensacola, and they just loved what they did. They worked their tails off during the day, and they were just so proud of what they were able to accomplish at the end of the day. But it's also about the community. Look at the neighbors here. Curious neighbors just looking on, and it's so much fun watching and answering their questions. They say, well, can I get my yard flipped? And they'll ask, what's this all about? And it's a little bit of a disruption to their community for a day, but they're all, for the most part, very patient and loving what they're doing, and appreciative to what we're doing for those homeowners. And of course, we've got the designers and the county faculty. They're a big piece of this, and our local extension folks are going back and talking to these folks and hopefully making sure that they feel comfortable maintaining these landscapes. So let's look at some of these. Our very first flip, this was back in the fall of 2020, was the Shandbag house, and it was in Tallahassee, and we were flipping the backyard, and it was a pretty good sloping backyard. So you can see that how much slope we had. So we ended up, this was a good opportunity for us to create a rain garden in this lower area, and also do a little bit of terracing to try and deal with the hill. Good education piece. They also, on the left-hand side here, you can see that they had a little gravel patio space, not the easiest to sit on, not the easiest to deal with. So, you can kind of see it was all hands on deck. There was, in some cases, we'll have one designer, one landscaper, all from the same company that does, so all the labor and everything comes from that same company, irrigation, everything, all that person handles it all. This was the Espositos. This happened to be one of those flips, but in some of the flips we'll have many different companies working together all on that day. So this is kind of the way it ended up. On that right part of the backyard, we had a terraced vegetable garden, and up against their patio, we put in a little area where they had some herbs. And you see the folks in the orange shirts back over here. They were working on a paver patio. And here's a little bit more. This is that rain garden you can see here on the left. And there's that paver patio, and it really turned out nice and made a huge difference in these folks' lives. So it's, was the soils in the Panhandle are a little more clayish, and so it was all the turf was taken up, and we had to put new turf in, and real nice plant selection was in here, as well as a lot of edibles. So that was our very first flip, and it came out so well. All right, the second flip of season 1 was here in Gainesville, and it was another backyard flip, and it was a big backyard, and they just didn't know what to do with this space, and they had a couple of kids, and they wanted to utilize that space better. So we did go in, I guess it was about 10 days prior. The contractor came out and did spray the turf with a non-selective herbicide to be able to kill it, because it was zoysia, and that way it wouldn't pose as a big weed problem for them down the road. And so that's what you're seeing, is all that brown there. And so really not much in the backyard except for a shed that they had just put in, that brand new shed. As part of this, we also asked the homeowner to pressure wash the fence, and they did, and it came out really nice. And they actually also bought a new shed. Their other shed was an old metal shed that was falling down, and this is what you see. This is kind of what it turned into. Beautiful paver patio area adjacent to the porch, different stone walkways. I think one of the important things people need to learn when they're doing a landscape is to figure out how you're going to make your way through the landscape. And so that's where these various paths that you'll see can come in real handy. And it's nice and Florida friendly if you can use permeable materials, things that will allow the water to still perk. And so really, this one came out very nice. I think I've got another shot here from the other side, and you can see those big slabs of stone that were used for walkways. There was a sandbox. Chad likes to do a little project for the family, and so for the kids, he built a sandbox for them, and had a little personalized sign for them. And so they had a little pollinator garden adjacent to that space as well. Part of the family's desire here was that they wanted the kids to be able to spend more time outdoors and really learn about nature. And so there's a little raised bed garden, a lot of things here. So a lot of pieces. So it was, again, one of those flips that came out just terrific. A lot of hard work, a little bit of rain. It did start to rain a little bit in the afternoon, but it wasn't enough to keep us from completing the task. This one was really interesting. This was in Winter Park, Florida. And in Central Florida, this one was actually, they didn't have a single plant in the landscape. It was solid gravel, all gray gravel. And so this is one that it scared me to even think about doing this landscape, because it was all gravel. And if you've dealt with stone a lot, what happens, it starts sinking into the soil, and it's just difficult to deal with. And but I was convinced we should do this one, so we did. The homeowners actually did pay a contractor to come and remove the gravel a week or so beforehand, and the contractor did come in and rototilled in some compost into the ground to try and just get a little life and kickstart this landscape space a little bit going. So what you're seeing here in the center area here, this is where the walkway was going to be, and then these are the planting bed areas where you see the darkened soil, and that's where that compost was rototilled into the space. So a very modern looking house. Again, they had 0 plants to begin with, and this is kind of what they came home to at the end of the day. These beautiful porcelain 2x2 pavers, They're pretty thick material, really nice. And they were laid with spaces in between so that they would drain a little bit. You know, a wide range of mostly native plants went into this landscape. Again, a lot of the community comes together and helps make this happen. Florida Native Plant Society was part of this. You know, again, a lot of folks, look at this beautiful artwork done on this bench. Even a local artist allowed them to use this pink flamingo for, I think they were getting to keep it for a few months, and then had the option to buy it, of course. But kind of cool and nice decoration in the landscape. And if you know Winter Park, Florida, the homes are all a little bit different and a little bit unique. And a lot of people walk through their streets. And so it's really nice for them. They were so proud of this landscape afterwards, and that, you know, they didn't have anything to look at before. And so the community really embraced what we were doing, and they gave them big thumbs up and appreciated the final product. Then we went down to Lake Worth, Florida. And so here we are on the southeast part of Florida. And we had a family with, I believe they had 4 children. It's either 4 or 5 children. And, you know, they had a beautiful swimming pool, but it was surrounded by weeds. And that's all they had was weeds. And those weeds were knee high. And so the contractor did come in a couple of weeks beforehand and did spray using a non-selective herbicide to kill all of those weeds. And so this is how we came to it that morning of the flip. And this is kind of what it looked like in the backyard. And at the end of the day, this is what the family came home to: a little bit of turf for the children to play. Actually, a little beach retreat for the parents, and a nice Florida-friendly landscape. A little bit of silver buttonwood hedge along to soften that fence on the back. Some palms, some grasses, some ornamental grasses, and you know, even a pollinator garden for the kids over here to the left of that pool equipment. And so even they even gave the kids a little some chrysalis and some little screened enclosures to be able to monitor those. So great education goes along with this, so that they can really understand nature just a little bit more. And, you know, it's important that all the homeowners do get a packet of Florida-friendly landscaping information. They get all of the manuals, and they also get a lot of EDIS fact sheets. So they hopefully understand a little bit more on how to care for these landscapes. The Bell family in Tampa, well, they had real problems with drainage. And they had a driveway that would flood. They had large trees that had been damaged and needed to come out. And so the trees were removed a couple of days prior to the flip. And the day prior, they came in and did a lot of excavation work, because we were planning on putting in a pervious pavement driveway for this to help solve some of that flooding problem that the Bell family had. And this is what we came into first thing that morning. And it's like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Are we going to get it all done in a day? But sure enough, at the end of the day, this is what it turned into. And the Bell family, they did revisit them a year later, and there are no flooding problems with that driveway anymore. It's so amazing to see the water just perk right through that pervious pavement. But you can see all the plants that went in, numerous trees, many smaller trees, you know, new turf, new irrigation, new drainage. And it really has been something that's changed their lives. They said they're spending lots more time outdoors. And, you know, it's shocking to realize just how much a garden space, a landscape, can really affect you. And so, again, there are 3 kids that live here, and they utilize this turf space all the time. Then obviously we had the Panama City shoot. I'm going to bypass this one since we just saw it with the video, but it really came out so nice. And this was on a very busy street in downtown Panama City. And it's actually where the Christmas parade goes past and goes through. And so it is a high visibility piece. And so a lot of people were going to see this landscape. And you know, there was even lighting that went into this one. So a lot of really cool stuff, and it turned out beautiful. The Lindsley home in Oviedo, that's a little bit in southeast central Florida. They had a real problem. This area here is all their septic tank mound that they have and drain field. And so, you know, they wanted to be able to disguise that mound a little bit. That bothered them so much. They spent lots of time in their landscape, but they said, we don't know what to do with this. We don't know how to disguise it. We don't know, you know, how to go about it. So that was kind of their wish. They also wished to have a little prettier driveway because they hated that concrete driveway. Well, this is how it turned out at the end of the day. We had a section of gravel to go to complete the driveway, but did put thin pavers on top of that concrete driveway just to be able to beautify it. Added some small magnolia trees to the ones that were already to the one that was already there, and a lot of underplanting. Again, a lot of natives, a lot of drought tolerant, Florida friendly plants went into this landscape, and a lot of color. Not a lot of color now, but there are a lot of things that were going to be blooming when they matured just a little bit, and it really turned out nice. And they were thrilled with the change, and the neighbors were too. This the Ocampo home in Sanford was a it's relatively small landscape. This was another front yard landscape, and here you can see that morning of the flip day. There really wasn't much. A few small plants up around the house, but for the most part, there wasn't much in this landscape. And a lot of things went into this, and a lot of lessons to teach the 9 principles of the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program. So a compost system was put in the backyard so that she could create her own compost. We put in a rain barrel that did go off the front of the house, and even put in a bat house, again, to try and eliminate some of the insect problems that they might have, and again, work with nature. This is the way it turned out. This was a winter flip. It was cold. You can see the bahia grass that we installed was dormant at the time. It was kind of brown, but it's okay. It's, we can plant turf here 12 months out of the year. This did not receive an in-ground irrigation system. There was a kind of a temporary hose system that was put in to help them water it during the establishment phase, but no permanent in-ground irrigation system. And this is one that we visited a year later, and this is what it looked like 1 year later. And there's the little wooden bridge here was kind of spanning the swale that was in the front of their yard, because she would go across the street to her mother lived across the street, and so she would often go and visit. And so beautiful paver walkway, again, nice Florida friendly plant material. Trees that were added were dormant at this point, but it really turned out nice. And they were so much fun because they've said that how much this has changed their life. She and her husband now spend a lot more time outdoors. They enjoy working with these plants. They've taken some extension classes on composting, and they're just learning so much more, and they're sharing what they're learning with the rest of their community. So they said that they have people come by all the time and talk to them about how to take care of their yard. The Greenbergs in Fort Myers. This is one that was pretty dramatic. This was a waterfront flip. One of those flips that, she cared very deeply about the quality of the water. She had been through the Florida Master Naturalist program, and she was also a volunteer who was monitoring the water quality of this pond. And so, she cared about that, and she wanted to do things the right way. But they had St. Augustine going right down, to near the water's edge. And so we came in and, pretty much took out everything that was back there. And this is what we left them with, a beautiful buffer area adjacent to the water where, they had a lot of Florida friendly plants, some leather fern, some canna, some iris, all kinds of things in that first 10 feet before the water. So, those were all plants that weren't going to get any fertilizer or, do any pruning down in that space, and they no longer had to mow down near the water. So, it's that important buffer zone that I think a lot of people don't necessarily know that they need. But a lot of beautiful plants went into this landscape. And this is what it looked like 1 year later. Came back and visited them, and she lives out in the backyard. Basically, she's got her boots, and she was very proud of how worn they looked because, it was kind of her badge of honor. But you see the beautiful landscape, how much it grew in a year. And they actually even saw some of their neighbors. They saw that the importance of that buffer zone. And so here's their neighbor 2 doors down actually quit mowing their St. Augustine grass in that first 10 feet and actually planted some muley grass adjacent to that, just to, again, get that message about leaving a buffer. And it really didn't look bad. She was very happy. All of a sudden she understood that, I'm doing some good here. I'm helping to protect our water. And she said, it's so important that we keep our stormwater pond nice and clean. And, it was nice to see this spreading. And not only was she doing this, but her neighbor next to her had also decided to do exactly the same thing. So this can be infectious. And, if you're doing things the right way, people are very interested. And if it looks okay and looks nice, they're going to want to do the same thing. So think about how much difference you can make in your own community. And this is season 1, the last flip of season 1, which was probably the most dramatic, was in Miami. This is what it looked like that morning in the backyard. This was another backyard flip, really nothing of consequence back there. And then you can see some of the pieces, some large ligustrum trees went in there, beautiful signage, a lot of lush plant material. And, this is it from a little bit of a distance. Beautiful paver patio, large palm trees went in. Probably the most plant material went into this one from any landscape we'd ever done. So it was really a gorgeous landscape. Season 2 started out in Oviedo with the Valdez family. And this one, again, very much a blank slate. They did have a concrete patio here that was removed the day before the flip. But other than that, there was nothing there. And so it turned out this is what it was at the end of that 8 hours. Some nice, fresh new turf in that space, a nice paver patio accented by nice stone areas, even some trellises to create a little bit of noise barrier because they were kind of on a busy road on the backside of this brick wall, and even some verticality with some hanging baskets. And again, a lot of things for nature, from a bird bath to a bird feeder. And a lot of Florida friendly plants went into this landscape. We also did one in Jacksonville, and this was the Anthuso Green family. And you can see, we came in and there was a mound of dirt in the front yard. We said, oh no. And regrettably, it took hours and hours before we were finally able to get rid of that mound of dirt and the crew could really get going on landscaping that front yard. And this is one that, look at how much of the community was out there watching this. There's must be 30 to 40 people here kind of watching the goings on, just amazed at what's happening. You know, and this is how it turned out at the end of the day. And again, a beautiful paver driveway, nice concrete apron, olive trees, a bunch of palms went in, a lot of Florida friendly plants. They put in a couple of decks in this area. This was supposed to be a little welcoming deck to invite people into their front yard. I'm not so sure that this one worked out so well, but this deck was just beautiful and had nice seating on it. My guess is this deck probably went away. If I was to go back and visit, I would think that deck might be gone. The flip we did in St. Pete was from a real friendly, nice lady who cared so much about the environment. She's in an area between large bodies of water. She cared very much about protecting the water. And so she wanted to have a landscape that she thought could show she was doing her part to protect the waters. And this is kind of how it turned out at the end. Beautiful home, had great architecture to it. But, you know, very little turf in the front yard, mostly plants. A little bit of turf was left in that area between the sidewalk and the road. But other than that, it was all garden space. And she felt it really captured what she was looking for from like a park-like atmosphere. And again, this is one where the community really came out to watch. And, you know, it's nice to see, again, that community involvement. Our Pensacola flip, that one way northwest, was a young couple with a couple of dogs. And so they wanted to have a little bit of turf in the backyard to be able for the dogs to run and play, but they wanted to be able to reduce the amount of water and slow the water that was running through. So they wanted some plant material, and they really didn't know where to start. They also wanted a nice place to sit. And this is kind of how it turned out. Beautiful gardens running all along that fence space, nice new zoysia turf, and then you know, some trees as well. And there you can see that patio sitting area that they installed just on the left back side of the house. So it turned out really pretty, and a lot of color when this landscape, from camellias to roses. And she was a big frog fan. She loved frogs, and so there was even some frog hotel and some frog houses that went into this one. The Odessa family, the Johnsons, they had a very large backyard, as you can see, and it was on a lake. So, you know, big space. So what can we do to fix up this one? Well, some very large gardens kind of came in and flanked this left side and this right side to kind of draw your eye. And then there's this concrete pad that was here that they would allow people from the neighborhood to have their weddings and things on that concrete pad, you know, in the backyard. So this is kind of how it turned out at the end. These are those large gardens, and you don't realize quite how big they are because the space is so large, and they're beautiful. New pavers went on top of that concrete pad, some landscaping all around it, and even a 10-foot buffer zone was planted adjacent to the lake to help protect the water. So Mr. Johnson cared very much about protecting the wildlife in the water, and there was a little alligator keeping us company all day long. This was the first multifamily home that we flipped. It was in a condo, actually in Cocoa Beach. And the family came and said, you know, we've got these old 50, 60-year-old shuffleboard courts that nobody uses. And they wanted to turn it into a garden. And so this is what it looked like before. Actually, those shuffleboard courts and that concrete space was removed a week or so before the flip. And this is what it turned out at the end of that day. A beautiful walkway running down through here with an area that they were going to add some benches to be able to sit and enjoy the garden. And this was all natives that went into this landscape. And you can see even some signage, some plant signage went in. There was a master gardener who made these signs and made this beautiful Florida Friendly Garden sign to accent the garden. And they've been very proud of it, and they're taking great care of this landscape. We were down in Marathon, down in the Keys, and this was a young couple that loves wildlife and loves garden spaces. She called herself a crazy plant lady, and she even had a shirt to prove it, calling her a crazy plant lady. Well, this is what their home looked like when we first got there that morning, and this is what it looked like at the end of the day. They had a nice gravel apron to drive onto, and then these beautiful raised beds were installed, and they ended up putting a beautiful hammock, tropical hammock through here. So a lot of plant material went in, and this was actually a mostly female crew that actually did the installation. They even put in a large water capture tank to be able to capture all the water that comes from the air conditioner and also the gutters. And that helped to water some of the bananas and fruiting plants that they put in as well. And this is the other side of that. This brick patio was existing. However, all of these bricks were all willy-nilly. They were all professionally relayed for them. And then here you can see the garden beds a little bit. And I love the stone paths that go through some of these landscapes. In Vero, we had folks that had a 5-acre piece of property with a large pond, and they were concerned about that water quality of the pond, and they were concerned about how much water they were pumping. And so they wanted to have a little more drought tolerant landscape. They needed to know how to capture that water a little bit. And they also had a situation where they had a little brick area adjacent to the front door, but it was kind of unlevel, and they had a soft-shell turtle that would come and dig it up all the time and come and visit them on their front porch. So they got a little wall to keep the soft-shell turtle out. They had these beautiful porcelain pavers that went on top of some of their walkway and in that patio space. And they even put in a rain garden down here as well to help capture some of the runoff before it makes its way into their little waterway. A lot of color went into this landscape. The large planting beds were irrigated with drip irrigation, so a lot less water was going to be pumped out of that landscape as well. Some of their existing garden spaces were redone and refreshed where they looked kind of rough, and areas where there were just trees in the turf area were made into large self-mulching beds underneath. So it really became a lot more Florida friendly when we were done. This was a duplex that was done in, this was in Babcock Ranch. And, we have an HOA community here that has virtually no trees in the backyard. It was just St. Augustine grass. And you can see, it was a hot space to deal with. And Jen Marvin here with the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program came up with a beautiful design. They were both environmentalists, and actually he was a beekeeper and she was an environmentalist, and she wanted a hardwood hammock or a pine flatwoods, back into this area, kind of what it used to be originally. And so we brought in some pines and brought in a couple of oak trees and some palms. And again, a lot of Florida friendly plants went in. I think over 400 plants went into this landscape. They got a fire pit. They got a beautiful walkway. Again, a more efficient irrigation system. And they were just thrilled. And they had a young son that they couldn't wait to show how to help maintain this landscape and how to enjoy it. But there's enough turf there that he could enjoy playing soccer and still enjoy that backyard. And then we had Coral Springs landscape and a small front yard, and a very nice teacher who lived here. And she actually had situations that was a blacktop driveway. And then she had this kind of rickety stepping stone area adjacent, and she'd actually fallen multiple times where the transitioning from this blacktop trying to get to her front door. And so, that was some of the problems. She had some invasive plants over here, and she just didn't know what to do. But at the end of the day, ended up with a beautiful paver area adjacent to that front door that she could get safely from the driveway to the front door. A nice garden with trees, as well as a mix of plant material that is going to provide color, as well as some nice structure. A rain barrel. She ended up with a nice raised vegetable garden in the backyard, and she was just thrilled. Those invasive plants were dealt with, and she had a gorgeous landscape when she finished. With that, you've made it through the first 2 seasons of Flip My Florida Yard. As I told you earlier, we're working on, we'll be filming season 3 again on Monday. We'll be in the New Smyrna area. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do, what kind of difference we can make. We've got a beautiful design that the designers created. And so we'll be having some fun next week. With that, Wendy, I'll turn it over to you, and I'll take any questions they might have.
Okay, so one of the questions is how do you get to be nominated to have your yard flipped?
We get that question a lot.
Sure.
And, on the website, if you just go to flipmyfloridayard.com, on the website, it'll tell you how you can get selected. There'll be a questionnaire that you fill out, and there'll be a 2-minute video that you need to submit about why you want your yard flipped.
Okay.
That is then screened by a whole group of people, and then we narrow it down to 10. And we do try and get different areas of the state. As you can see, we try and get good distribution throughout, so that the viewers can see the different plants from the different areas, and see all kinds of different architecture of homes as well, so that you can see, a Florida friendly landscape doesn't have to look just one particular way. It can look
Right.
like many different things. And so a lot of it is how you maintain it and what you put in it.
Yep. Kevin and Mary want to know who pays the people, who pays for the supplies, how is this funded?
Oh, great question. Most of the material and the service is donated. These designers and landscapers come and they donate their time. Yes, they do get some promotion on the show, but they're donating that. There's a small budget for some extras, in some cases some extra plants that we couldn't get donated, or we need to add some pots or a bench or something that just couldn't get donated. So there is a small budget that comes with that, but for the most part, it's that material is donated.
We had someone mention about the lighting is so important for landscapes, Tom. And Natalie mentioned about using the International Dark Sky Association to make sure that we're not contributing to light pollution. Do you guys consider that when you're putting in lighting? We
certainly do, especially if we're near, especially any natural spaces and things. There's only been lighting, I think in the first 2 seasons, only on that Tallahassee or Panama City flip. A couple of small lights went in, but for the most part, they don't. This is a daytime show. It's filmed during the day, and
right.
It doesn't add a lot to the TV magic. So we kind of don't think a lot about the lighting. That's something that the homeowners can add, down the road if they'd like. But in most cases, there's just not enough time for that, between all the walkways, the hardscape, the irrigation, and all the plant material that goes in. It's, it's difficult to add another contractor on top of that.
Sure, I bet. Do you have any shortened ads or like little blurbs that for cities or for local TV stations to promote the show or social media?
I'm sure we do. I'm sure Crawford, we could get those from Crawford because pretty much everything we do, they have filmed numerous commercials for us. That's part of the contract from DEP, is that we've done a couple of Florida friendly landscaping commercials. So we need to put those on our website. So that's a great question, and good reminder. I'll make a note to see if we can't put those on our website.
And what about dealing with HOAs, Tom? Some of them are pretty restrictive. Are you guys working in HOAs or not working in HOAs?
We always try and do at least a couple of HOAs each season because, we want people to see that, you can do Florida friendly landscaping even in a restricted community. And so Babcock Ranch was one of those that, had a pretty restrictive HOA. And 75% of the plant material had to be native. And so, just HOAs aren't that difficult. It's just they want to know what you're doing. So you make sure you go in there with a plan and you work with them, let them know what you're putting in and how it's gonna look when it's done. And in most cases they're pretty agreeable as long as you're following their rules up front. So
good. And Mary said, I like the idea and the area of having more planting beds rather than turf, but what about all the weeding that can entail? What do you all, how do you set people up for success for that?
Well, number one, we're using a lot of mulch. And so we encourage people to utilize mulch. That's going to help. But we did some research plots here at the University of Florida where we, simulated what we call a Florida friendly landscape by going with 75% plant beds in the backyard and 25% turf. And in the front yard, we did 25% plant beds and 75% turf, just to see what the difference was in water use. And we tracked all the inputs and all the maintenance and everything. And it's very interesting. The Florida friendly yard part saved as much as 84% of the amount of water that was applied to the traditional landscape part. But when you tracked labor and everything, the mowing ended up being very similar to the amount of time that you spent hand weeding those plant beds. Now, I think that would get in those Florida friendly landscapes when you have that larger plant bed space in time as your plants grow and you get more coverage, less sun reaching the soil, that amount of hand weeding is going to get much reduced. And so it is something that we let the homeowners know that there is going to be some work on the front side. And it's interesting to talk to them afterwards. They say, at first we were like, okay, what do we do now that all the cameras have left and all the crew and all the landscapers have left? How do we maintain this? And so there's a little bit of a learning curve that goes along with it, but hopefully they're in touch with their local master gardeners and county extension faculty. And, we leave them a lot of information. So hopefully they're doing some reading as well.
Tom, do you have an idea of what the typical budget is for one of these flips?
It varies so much because the material's donated. And so, if you were looking at, what this would cost for somebody, a typical landscaper to come in and do what's being done, it could probably range anywhere from, 15 to 40, even 50,000.
Right. And that varies between North, Central, and South Florida too,
Certainly.
I think things are a little bit less expensive in North Florida and more expensive in Central and South as that goes. So I think, Tom, I think that's, somebody asked if Chip does other speaking engagements and how do you contact him?
Chad Crawford.
Chad, right.
Yeah, Chad is, you can just go to Crawford Entertainment. And he's got a website, and I'm sure that he probably would do some speaking engagements. I'm not aware of any particular ones that he has done, but I would go through Crawford Entertainment and ask him directly.
Okay, sounds good. And there was one other question. Oh, to view the streaming shows, just go to Flip My Florida Yard, put that in your Google search, and then you'll be able to find the TV from there.
Exactly. It's got
Okay.
instructions on how to watch.
All right, very good. I really appreciate it, Tom. So we're a little bit over. We had at one point over 350 people join us today. So I know everybody loves a good before and after and a happy ending. So thank you so much. I really
Fantastic.
appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Take care now, Wendy.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.